What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Streckbine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers watch their AFC North rival make a pretty big move today, and it sparks plenty of conversation about if the Pittsburgh Steelers are next and if they will make a move this offseason. Meanwhile, Tom Pelissero had a very interesting take on the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach and why things may not be year to year, or maybe are year to year. And it's Wednesday. We're playing What's More Likely here on All Steelers Talk. Very excited for it. Jacob, it's a beautiful one here in the Berg. It's been a beautiful one all day here in the Berg. You're looking fine and fresh and crisp with that new camera over there. How you feeling, my friend?
Just working on my model faces and just working on what sort of poses I'm going to hit here now that I have the proper lighting. Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up. Feeling good. You know what's crazy about today is it is so nice, and my dogs, who are usually just like scratching at the door every moment to be outside and to enjoy the weather regardless, rain, sunshine, sleet, or snow, are sleeping and have slept all day. Don't want to do a damn thing. So, you know, I might be stirring them up for a little WALK, as we say in our house, after this, because you can't say the word unless you mean it.
Unless you mean it. You can't. You got 55 minutes here before the WALK can commence. So you can't be tossing that word out right here. That's too long. Early. That's centuries in their eyes. Shout out the pups. I hope they enjoy it a little bit later. Let's talk some Pittsburgh Steelers football. They watched, you watched, everybody else watched today. Jier Alexander go to the Baltimore Ravens on a 1-year, $4 million deal with $2 million in incentives. The Pittsburgh Steelers, according to Ricky the dog on Twitter or something, they reached out. I was not able to confirm that. Can't say that they did, but there was plenty of conversation about if they should and if the Pittsburgh Steelers may have missed out on an opportunity for a guy that ended up being pretty cheap at $4 million, maybe $6 million for a 1-year deal. Instead, they got to face him twice a year. And I get it. Jier Alexander is a name that right now comes with some concerns about his ability to stay on the field, but when on the field, a pretty damn good corner. Your thoughts when the news happened, and to go deeper than that, I think everybody wants to know your thoughts when the contract came out.
Ooh, I was a little disappointed to see that the Steelers weren't able to snag him. I do think he would have been a difference maker in the secondary. And I think that the Steelers, were a legitimate fit for him. So again, disappointed to see that he didn't land with the Steelers, and even more of a gut punch to see him land with an AFC North rival. But it does make a ton of sense with his familiarity with Lamar Jackson that he winds up there. All that being said, the contract makes it an extra little gut punch because, I mean, it's not like we didn't think he would take a lot of money or that he would require a lot of money to sign with the new team, especially because he was coming off of a ridiculous amount of guaranteed money. The exact amount is escaping me, but I feel like it was somewhere in like the 70s or 80s, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe that was the total value. But either way, he was pretty cheap, especially for what he can bring if he's healthy and on the field. So yeah, the Steelers definitely could have, swung it. And it sounds like it wasn't really a money issue or a fit issue. It sounds like he just kind of maybe wanted to play with his buddy more than he wanted to play in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's a great point there. Great little anecdote is that Lamar Jackson definitely had a heavy hand in recruiting Jier Alexander to the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know if the Steelers had anybody. Oh, wait, this guy, Aaron Rodgers, probably could have helped for sure, but he didn't. And I understand that. Like, I'm not, upset with the situation. But for those who will say, because it was the first thing I thought too when it happened was, man, dude, Lamar he pulled that one in. Great for Lamar Jackson. And then my brain went, Aaron Rodgers was just sitting there, huh? Nobody was like, you should probably call him and see if he wants to come play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I don't know if they were interested. I don't know if they were looking for a corner. They feel pretty content, which is I don't know, maybe a little bit concerning. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the move. I can't say that it's the bad idea or the wrong idea as we sit here today, but I do think that if I was the Steelers, I'd be open to considering outside options. Jier Alexander would have been one of them for $4 million, would have easily been the name that I felt comfortable bringing in. I would have played him on the outside if he wants to earn a starting job over Darius Slay. Awesome. If he wants to work on the inside, even better. But I'd feel very comfortable with signing Jier Alexander instead of letting him walk to the Baltimore Ravens. I'll ask this question. Do you think that Jier going for no money and kind of getting the wheel moving on the cornerback market sparks a Jalen Ramsey move in the coming weeks? And do you think the Steelers maybe jump on that one or have more chance to jump on that one than they do or did Jier Alexander?
I think I'll cut to the point, to cut to the chase early. I don't think it makes it any more realistic. And I think the contract terms with Jalen Ramsey create the bigger issue than the fit. But I think since there is one less option on the market and maybe the next best option and next most realistic option is no longer available, I think the Steelers now have to take a much longer thought and approach when it comes to Jalen Ramsey. If they can get him cheaply and if they can, make it happen for very little assets, I think you have to consider it a lot more now. I mean, now the need, if they are content, if what you posited there a minute ago is correct, I think that is a huge cause for concern. I think the secondary is just not really set up to succeed and sustain itself for the entirety of the 2025 season. So it feels like a piece is more necessary with every single passing day. So yeah, I think you gotta now, I don't think it's realistic again, but I think you have to maybe consider again, can you bring in a Jalen Ramsey and can you make it happen for maybe cheaper than you would expect?
Yes, the cheaper than you expect thing to me is like, okay, Jier Alexander got the ball rolling in the right direction, which is the wrong direction for the cornerback market, the right direction for a team like the Steelers who are looking to add. And I'm not positive that they're going to or that they're even considering it, but they should, and they should make phone calls. And if they are thinking, okay, this is a little bit less than what we anticipated, great. Don't hold back, especially in a season, in a year where you are pretty much all in. And that's a move that can make you even more all in. If Jalen Ramsey, which he is available, but if he's cheap at some point between now and training camp. The other news and notes that happened over the last 24 hours, New York Giants former, I believe, top 10 pick, Kayvon Thibodeaux. He's got a hefty goal in 2025, a goal that, let's be really honest, okay? There's some people who could call out this goal, but nobody who ever does gets there. We've never once saw somebody walk to a podium, guarantee something, and it work out in their favor in the NFL. Well, he's trying to break that mold here. He said, quote, "Every time I come onto the field, I want to have more sacks than I ever had, more tackles than I ever had, and whatever I've got to do to help the team. Yeah, I'm still going for the record. I'm going for the record every year." That record being TJ Watt's 22 and a half sacks in one season. He added this later. I didn't finish. I think I had like 5.5 sacks, which should have been whole sacks. I had probably like 4 or 5 missed tackles at the sack point. So just finishing my plays and just being able to come out on top in every situation is how he believes he gets there this season. 1 to 10 chance that Kayvon Thibodeaux, who I do not know his sack numbers, but you do, breaks TJ Watt's sack record in 2025.
No, this is what, sorry, I just hit my mic there in laughter, but this is also my favorite thing that I love about Myles Garrett when we talk about him is that, like,
yes,
I am so enthralled by unmistakable confidence and like unshakable confidence. And, props to Kayvon Thibodeaux. He does have career sack numbers of 4 his rookie year, 11 and a half his second year in the league, and this past year he did indeed have 5.5 sacks. I mean, there's no shot. It's 0%, 1 to 10, 0. He's not going to ever catch it. I think he could still be a good edge rusher for the Giants, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's not going to catch the record. What this reminded me of, and why I started laughing so hard, is there's this really great clip that I've seen, and I always say anytime people say stuff like this, you know, if my grandmother had 2 wheels, she'd be a bicycle. You know, like, we could talk about all these, you know, hypotheticals till the cows come home.
Yeah.
But it you know, that's all that it is. And I love hearing the confidence. I love, you know, all of these things that we hear from these players, but I mean, come on, no chance at all.
My grandmother had 2 wheels, she'd be a bicycle. Unbelievable. I hope he hears that one. I hope that is somewhere in a locker room in MetLife Stadium this season for Kayvon Thibodeaux, just looking at it going, Jacob Pinturi, man, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to prove you wrong. Him and his 19.5 career sacks, which doesn't get you to the 22 mark, not even totaled in 3 years. I agree. 0, strong 0. And to be honest with you, I think there's a better chance that TJ walks away breaking the record before I'd say Thibodeaux goes out and breaks the record. And TJ's 31 years old, and while maybe not there yet, approaching the back half of his career, getting very close to the I am not as dominant as I once was stages of his NFL tenure. Thibodeaux's in his prime. He's as good as he's maybe ever going to get, or at least very close to getting to as good as he'll ever get. 0% chance. And if he breaks it, I'm so confident he's not gonna, that if he does, we will not just give away a signed TJ Watt jersey, but we'll also give away a signed Thibodeaux jersey to the most random Giants fan that we could find somewhere, because it's not going to happen. And if it doesn't, maybe we still do the TJ jersey, because it's not going to happen. It's never going to. But shout out to Dreamers, man. Shout out to Dreamers. All right.
To Dreamers.
Let's talk about Mike Tomlin. Tom Pelissero was on the Rich Eisen show on Friday and had a very interesting take, outlook, explanation, all of the above on Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was asked to just kind of give a rundown of everything that has happened with the Pittsburgh Steelers and in the NFL. And in the midst of a rant, dropped that he believes that Mike Tomlin is quote unquote year to year with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, he corrected himself and said that contractually he's not year to year, which he's not. He signed, a multi-year deal last offseason, or this past offseason, and is there, I believe, the next 2 years at this point. There might be a third in there, but I think it's this year and next year. But he said this about Mike Tomlin, quote, "My belief is Mike Tomlin will be the head coach of the Steelers for as long as he wants to be, but he's entering his 19th year. There is not a lot of precedent in the modern NFL, Bill Belichick aside, for somebody going on 20 years with one team. It just doesn't happen." Mike Tomlin, we all know, has never had a losing season in Pittsburgh. He has a lot of influence over all aspects of the organization personnel. Look no further than Aaron Rodgers, who Mike Tomlin stumped for from the start. He finished by saying, "The results influence everything here. Mike Tomlin's own wishes influence things. I don't foresee, and nothing about his history of the Rooney family would indicate that they would fire Mike Tomlin. I talked with Art Rooney about this last summer. What he said was, my standard is as long as the locker room is still listening to the coach and we believe in the coach, there's no reason to make a change." Year to year is what stands out. A massive thing to say about Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, 19 years, you're looking at Bill Belichick as one of the only examples to say that could actually happen in the NFL. Do you think there's something there? Do you think there's something to latch onto to say, if this doesn't correct itself, if Mike Tomlin and the Steelers don't get this thing figured out and become a contender again within the next year or two, Mike Tomlin starts to actually have the consideration of maybe, if not retirement, we test the waters elsewhere?
I think there's very little weight to the the verbatim usage of year to year. I think what I would put some stock into is that we are like, of course, contract to contract. Like, I think there is a growing sentiment that we are reaching the final years of Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. Like, I don't think that means he's going to get fired or walk away within the next year or two or something like that. But I think that, 19 years is a long time. I think, the extension that happened last offseason, I think was a 2-year extension. So, I think we are operating under contract to contract territory, and there isn't this sort of blank check like there was a decade ago where it seemed like Tomlin would be here genuinely forever. So I don't put a ton of stock in what the exact verbiage that Pelissero is using here, but I do think the general sentiment is something that has been echoed, from you, from myself, and from a lot of different people talking about the Steelers, where there is a growing feeling that it's not just sort of this blank check anymore. It's not just sort of completely whatever Mike T wants, and that there could be change if it keeps going in a direction that I think we all are pretty, sounding the alarm for right now. So, I'm not buying it completely, but I think there is something to it where, there's cause for concern growing.
I agree with that. I think Mike Tomlin is in Pittsburgh for as long as he ever wants to be in Pittsburgh. But I don't think that Mike Tomlin will forever want to be in Pittsburgh. If they can't figure out how to win, there always seems to come a time when everybody has the realistic conversation of, I do love it here, but it's just not worth it anymore. And if that's the case, I do think he'd get a job elsewhere in seconds without question. He'd be the hottest name on the market. Teams would fire their head coach for Mike Tomlin. They would do that. I think the Steelers would do everything in their power to keep him. But I do think that if you can't figure it out in the next couple of years, that there is the conversation of like, okay, at some point we really do got to rebuild. And Mike T's looking at it going, I don't really want to do that anymore. Like I've done that and we've done this before. It doesn't have the same oomph. I will say this. I've been told so many times this offseason that no matter how loud the noise is, Mr. Rooney and Mike Tomlin are closer than they have ever been, and that their father-son relationship is crazy. But I've also been told that Art Rooney is being realistic with Mike Tomlin for the first time in a long time by saying things like, if you go out and draft Shedeur Sanders and that's your guy and it doesn't work out, we're hitting a point where it's hard to justify nothing happening because you are missing out and ruining the quarterback position year after year after year. You're missing on that, the greatest position on the field. So I think it goes both ways. I think their relationship is getting stronger, but also becoming more serious because of the lack of success. And that's a place we haven't been in a long time when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, is that unrealistic, not fantasy world. Because that's what it was. It was a no matter what, the Steelers could go 0-17 next season. Mike T's got a job the year after that, and the Steelers aren't going to do anything about it. That seems to be here, but maybe we're inching closer to something needs to change for it to remain here. The next quarterback is when that happens. If Mike T gets a quarterback in the NFL draft in 2026 in the first round, and he has their guy and they're ready to go, and it works out, Mike T's never leaving. If Mike Tomlin gets a quarterback, that quarterback stinks, and the Steelers are in the same boat that they're in right now, again, the conversation's there about whether or not something changes. And I think that's when we have that conversation. But I do think drafting a quarterback it's the most exciting thing a coach can do, first of all. And it does keep you here for as long as you want to be here, as long as it does work out. What are the odds that Mike Tomlin, how much NFL time do you think Mike Tomlin has left in him? I mean, is in your eyes, is Mike Tomlin here in 10 years?
I mean, yeah, he's in terms of NFL coaches, he's still relatively young. So, I mean, I think he could realistically be a coach, whether it's here or elsewhere, for 20 years for sure. I mean, geez, some of these guys seem like they are coaching straight to their graves. But yeah, I think he could still be in the NFL coaching for 10 or 20 years. Odds he's here in 10 years, I would say probably split right now. 1 out of 10, I'd say 5. And I think 2026 is the deciding factor year. Excuse me. Because I think this is, we're obviously in limbo right now. This 2025 season is, I would hate for this to be the season that truly dictated the outcome of Mike Tomlin's job. That would seem to be the wrong move, in my opinion. But
I agree.
yeah, I think once 2026 comes and we see what happens with the quarterback position, that's really when we're going to have a stronger grasp on it. So I think it's split right now, but as a Mike T believer and supporter, I think I would tend to lean more on the optimistic side that he will be here pretty much until he wants to stop being an NFL coach.
I mean, I agree. He's 53 years old. To 40 seasons with one team just seems so wild to me.
Mm-hmm.
Possible, definitely. Wild, unheard of, also very true. And I think the Steelers would be the ones to do it. But man, you got to look good in that 20 years. That's the thing, is you start putting realistic numbers out there of, Mike Tomlin could coach until he's 70. That's 17 more years from now. And in 17 years, you can't go on another 8-year drought in the playoffs. That's, you can't be 26 years without a playoff win and finish another 17 years in the same city. So it's wild that we are here, but I think it's very interesting where Tom Pelissero is coming from. And the fact that he's talking about it, this is not a Florio. This is not a Filipponi. This is not us. This is Tom Pelissero saying, I don't know, man, maybe year to year is the way to label it. Wow. Wild. Absolutely wild. All right. We're going to finish off our agenda here. A little game we like to call What's More Likely. Introducing Jacob to this one. Very excited to do so. So for those of you who've been here, you know what's going on. For Jacob, who hasn't been here, you're going to learn. I got 4 What's More Likelies for you. You're going to tell me what's more likely between the two. You got to explain why. You got to give me your reasoning behind it. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think all of them are very easy. And maybe not all of them come true one way or another, but they're out there and I'm going to make you answer them. So with that said, let's get it kicking. It's going to start here with the guy we talked about today. The Pittsburgh Steelers missed on Jier Alexander. They will not be getting the former Packers star corner this season. Maybe it's a Jalen Ramsey. Maybe it's somebody else. Nobody's talking about replacing Darius Slay or Joey Porter Jr. or even Corey Trice. It's about replacing Beanie Bishop. That is the name to watch for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, what's more likely? The Steelers start Beanie Bishop for all 17 games this season, or another player, Dante Kent, Jalen Ramsey, any of the above, plays and starts more than half of the season at the slot corner position.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I can never call you a liar. You just said this would be tough. Not even a minute ago.
I did.
Oh, man. What's ringing in my mind right now is stubbornness. And I think because of that, I think there is a chance that because the Steelers do not get their guy, have not necessarily identified who the right slot guy is for the 2025 season, I think it is more likely that Beanie Bishop, the known commodity, the lesser of two evils, hypothetically, starts all 17 games. I think it is more likely that happens than an outside addition or a rookie like a Dante Kent starts more than half of the games. I don't think that's the move to make. I want to be very clear about that. That's not Jacob calling the shots.
Yes.
But I think that is the more likely option right now.
Yeah. As much as we wish the Steelers would listen, they don't typically do it. And I hear you on that one. Beanie Bishop here. I'll say this. I mean, when we get to training camp, we're going to find out. We're going to find out if Beanie's good, but banking on an undrafted guy who got benched last season, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Number 2 for you. What's more likely? We've talked about Aaron Rodgers quite a bit this week, and for the last 2 weeks as he arrived, I was on a Columbus radio station today, and they asked me, what does success mean for the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers? And I said, just showing that they're a contender. And they said, well, if he wins a playoff game, do the Pittsburgh Steelers bring him back? And I said, it depends on who they beat and how convincing it is that it's Aaron Rodgers being the difference maker. Well, this is the one I got for you. What's more likely? Aaron Rodgers forces his way into a second contract, which we've talked about quite a bit this week and last, or he's benched before the end of the season. What's more likely?
Oh, wow. Okay. Let me. Wow. Stump the Schwab. I'm gonna stall. Stump the Schwab was my favorite old ESPN show. While I think of an answer.
Shout out.
And it's happening right now. I think it is more likely that Aaron Rodgers gets a second contract with the Steelers than he gets benched before the end of the 2025 season. And I am going to double down on this theme of stubbornness. I think for right now, this is Tomlin's guy. The directive is, this is your guy. Let's see what he's got. And it's on you. And I think Tomlin wants to prove that he can identify the quarterback, the man who he needs under center to advance the Steelers from what they've been doing the last 8 years. So I think the stubbornness that brings, or call it gritty mentality to put a positive spin on it, will keep Aaron Rodgers coming back. And I find it more likely that he will be signing another contract than Mason Rudolph is the starting quarterback midway through the 2025 season. Not what I would like to happen, but I think that's more likely.
I love it. Will Howard, maybe. You never know. Skylar Thompson, who I don't know if you listened to the call-in show today, but you got a shout out right from the jump here about nearly pushing somebody to the edge the moment you mentioned that Skylar Thompson looked good at minicamp. They were not thrilled. They're not thrilled.
Well, scrambling Skylar. Come on now.
All right, we'll keep them going here. We've talked a lot of wide receiver two over the last month or so since George Pickens was traded to the Dallas Cowboys. Everybody anticipates the Pittsburgh Steelers will go out and they will add another wide receiver. Well, I got this one for you. What's more likely? Calvin Austin leads the Pittsburgh Steelers in receiving yards in 2025, or a player not currently on the roster leads the Pittsburgh Steelers in receiving yards in 2025.
Wow. I love this question so much because it truly does test what I've been saying for the last week and a half, which is that I think it is way more likely that they don't bring in somebody from outside of the team, and that it's up to the players in the room right now. And so I don't want to waver off of that. I think it is more likely that Calvin Austin leads this team in receiving yards than any sort of outside addition, trade, or free agent, or someone we haven't yet mentioned on the show. I think I do stand by that Calvin Austin is due for a breakout season. And if training camp goes well, I'll feel even more convinced of that and confident about that. So let's say, that's the competition really is, can he put up more than DK? But I think that's more likely.
Obviously DK is in the mix, but hey, look at this one's what's more likely is not built for the weak or the easy, as they say. I'll ask you this as I change what's plugged into my laptop here, as my phone's about to die or my camera's about to die. If you were to guess the outside guy that could change your answer to the other side, who would it be?
Ooh, it cannot be a free agent addition, that is for sure. If it's Gabe Davis, I basically just giggle. I don't think there's much to do with that. I would be excited and convinced and confident in Romeo Doubs being a number 2. I would be convinced and somewhat more confident in a healthy Christian Watson as well. But I think overall there's a lot that feels borderline, so it's hard for me to say that I would be confident with certainty. So, let's roll with CA3 for a bit here and see what he gives us.
I like it. All right, I'll finish it off with this one. This is another guy we talked about last week who really shined in minicamp, who I think could be a make or break asset to the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2025. Could be the guy that changes this defense from good, great to maybe elite if he plays well. It's the guy next to the guy who just signed a 2-year contract extension worth $12.5 million. That's Minkah Fitzpatrick. What's more likely? Minkah ties his career highs in interceptions with 6 or more, or goes interception-less for another season.
Oh man. I don't think anyone's going to like my answer. I think it's more likely that we see an interceptionless season again from Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think asking 7 interceptions from your safety, regardless of his ball hawking ability or his ability to sort of dial in as a pass protector, or a pass defender, is a colossal task. That's like a Herculean task for someone, even Minkah, playing his best to do. I think it is more likely that he has a 0 interception season, but still is impactful than he puts up 7 or more interceptions. I'm not dissing Minkah. I want to keep the optimism for Minkah rolling going into this season with the hopes that the secondary just really hits another level. But yeah, 7 would be crazy to me.
7. What about 6? You think he gets 6?
Still super crazy to me. I don't see him getting more than like 1 or 2. But that would be huge to me. Again, if the goal is for, with what we were talking about with like Deshaun Elliott yesterday, and with the improved run defense and the improved front 7, you shouldn't need someone to just like make these miraculous game-changing turnovers in order to make the defense effective and put the offense in position to score. So, if he's just being a good safety back there, that should be enough to help keep the Steelers defense, top 10 worthy.
I love it. Minkah, I'm hoping for the best. We'll see what happens. That's what's more likely. Shout out to you guys. I actually think we do have one in here that we'll finish it off with. What's more likely from Carl Spackler? Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen makes their first Super Bowl.
Cool. I am curious what the record is for quarterbacks after the season after they get married. Because Josh Allen got married in the offseason, as we know. I imagine he's the happiest guy in the world, like we all are right after we get married. But like,
true,
personal life might, things change. I wonder how that affects performance on the field. Still, that being said, I think Josh Allen and the Bills have a better chance in 2025 than the Ravens. But man, that's a great question.
Great question. Shout out Carl Spackler. All right. With that said, we're going to start diving into all of your questions. Shout out to everybody who just made today's show great as we continue, but we'll be right back first.
Pittsburgh, this one's for you. From the voices behind all Steelers talk comes Black and Gold apparel, your go-to for bold, fan-driven merch that reps the city, the Steelers, and everything in between. Whether you bleed black and gold or just love that Pittsburgh grit, we've got something for you. It's more than a podcast. It's a community. And thanks to your support, we're proud to bring the passion from our mics to your closets. Gear up, stand out, and show the world what real fans look like. Shop now at blackandgoldapparel.myshopify.com.
All righty. Shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. Can't thank you guys enough as we go through the abyss and just keep it rolling. Keep it trucking, as some would say. We can't forget on your Josh Allen take here. Aaron Rodgers also potentially probably not got married. If you ask the New York Post, he didn't. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that we are still talking about Aaron Rodgers getting. That is the one part of the Aaron Rodgers nonsense that I can care less about, is the like relationship marriage side of it. Of people like, they showed up with a wedding ring. Who cares, man? I show up with a new watch some places. People aren't like, yo, dude, we should look into that one. Is that his real watch? Nobody cares, man.
Did his wife buy it? Was it the side piece? I don't know.
Who knows?
I want people to just have their professionals to have their personal relationships and have their personal lives be private and safe. And yes. I'm good on that. I have no curiosity as to whether Aaron Rodgers got married. It's frankly none of my business. A lot of what happens is my business, but his being married is not at all. But appreciate the reminder, because if it's could be a bad omen, I'm gonna look into that after the show. Honestly,
maybe it's a good omen.
Maybe it's a good omen. Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's good luck. So
maybe that's why Aaron got married. But
shout out comment section for the info. Appreciate y'all.
Started off here with macaroni salad. Day 3 of 4 with the boss in the books. Plan visits tomorrow to take him further from home in hopes he bails early. I'm going to be really honest, macaroni salad. I hope that that's not your actual face in your photo. And that I hope that your boss is also a fan of the show and watches, but you guys have no idea that, like, that's what I hope. And I hope you walk out of this victorious, because macaroni salad, part of the fam here. Okay, part of the AST family forever. But I hope that your boss is like watching and has no clue that you are talking about him. That would be so awesome. That would be hilarious. Shout out. I hope you're making it through. This one's for you. Today's for you. So shout out to macaroni salad. Shout out. Marlon Lewis here. Member for 4 months. He's got an important question for us. Jersey idea. Zach Frazier, Deshaun Elliott, or DK Metcalf. I'll be honest. I am anti DK right now. I think he's going to change his jersey number in a year, maybe 2. 14's 2 on the table. I just don't trust 4. I don't trust it at all. Everybody knows that Deshaun is my guy. Deshaun is my favorite person on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just think he's a stud. I think he's electric. I think he is a Pittsburgh Steeler. I would have bought a Ryan Clark jersey back in the day. I'd buy Deshaun. Zach Frazier's as close to a second option as you can get. I think I'd go Deshaun Elliott, though.
That's a great pick. I think I had the opposite take about DK specifically.
Oh,
like, just because I'm like, that would be sick if he does change his number in a year. I like obscure jerseys. Or like random numbers. So I'd be cool with it if he does change his number, and if he doesn't, even better. But I think Elliott would be my pick right now. He just seems like just worth buying a jersey for right now.
Yeah, I love that. I love the obscure DK take. That could be very cool. Macaroni salad here, just giving us an update. He's not a Steelers fan, live in the Carolinas, so we're good. Crystal clear on this one. Shout out to macaroni salad for sure. Maddie here, waiting in line to meet SZA. What's up, Steelers Nation? I just want to highlight this one to make sure, Maddie, you let her know we said what's good, dog. What's good, dog? If you know me, almost every single time I run into you anywhere, the first words out of my mouth will be, "What's good, dog?" And I just hope that that's what you could tell SZA. Shout out to Maddie.
Oh, I love her so much.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know any songs by her. I just got into Sabrina Carpenter and Chappell Roan. My wife is finally. It's really my sister and my brother who got me into it. They just play it every time. Not gonna lie, a bop until I caught myself. I pulled up to the coffee shop. I drive a truck, okay, and all the windows are down, and I have I think it was Feather. I think the song's called Feather by Sabrina Carpenter, bumping. And I pulled up and I looked at some lady who looked at me, and I immediately clicked like, "Noah, dude, people know you, okay? You can't do this. You can't do this." I called my wife instantly and told her exactly what happened, and she was proud of me. So
yeah, I'm proud of you too. For sure. Let the music move you. It's all about it, man. I've been playing the Beach Boys for like a week straight because Brian Wilson died. And so I've been all sad about that. So just let the music play through you, man. It's all good.
All you do. But I'm not going to lie. I was singing very loudly every word that was coming out. Shout out. Almost all here. Do the Steelers have the cash to sign TJ Watt? If they do, is it a cash management issue because they are just holding off making the required cash deposits to cover the guarantee? What a deep question. I'll say this. It is nothing to do with the cash management or them having the actual funds. They could hand TJ Watt all the money they want to tomorrow, as long as the salary cap fits it or they abide by the salary cap rules. They do have the cap space to sign TJ Watt. They should sign TJ Watt. It is more of finding the number than it is anything else. But I'm going to be honest, I don't think I think they're separate, but I don't think that TJ and the Pittsburgh Steelers are like in a place where it's like, oh man, they are button heads and things get nasty. I just think the Steelers are looking at it going, guys, it's June. Okay. Football doesn't start until September. We have time to sign TJ Watt. Like, we're really not in a rush to make this happen. We're going to work on it, but we're going to work on everything else as well. And they're starting to do that. So I'm not like worried about it. It's just a conflict of where they need to be in the final numbers. The Steelers are going to, if it was easy, they'd get it done. Deshaun Elliott was an easy deal. You know, didn't cost a lot of money. The guaranteed fit well. It just worked out. Calvin Austin, Jaylen Warren, probably going to be in the same boat. TJ is a very difficult conversation to have. And I think that it's one that's going to take more time, but I'm not at any point nervous about it. And the Steelers are not nervous about it. I can promise you the Steelers are not nervous about any situation with TJ Watt. You look like you got thoughts.
I was just thinking, like, that would be really bad for the Steelers as a business if they didn't have the cash to give TJ Watt guaranteed money right now.
Yeah.
And so I was in my head thinking about how awful that internal structure must look for that to even happen. But yeah, I appreciate you clarifying all that too, because I think it's a very good question. Like, what is it, just the fact that he wants X? You know, we've been talking about guaranteed money a lot the past couple of days too. So I think it's a really fair question to ask, like, are the Steelers not prepared to give X amount right at this moment? So I think that information is helpful to hear right now. But yeah, I think it's a lot of staging, a lot of, you know, just negotiating going on right now that is separate from the actual dollars. And yeah, their cap space is kind of lip hoopy right now, right? Especially, but it's nothing that, you know, sort of making some little maneuvers doing and shifting someone to a signing bonus, or, you know, putting guaranteed money somewhere else, or, you know, some sort of restructuring won't solve. So, you know, that's not the concerning part. I think it's just, you know, is the relationship. And the important part that I keep coming back to is, will the relationship get strained so badly at any point? But it seems like we are very, very far away from that right now.
Yeah, we are at least a month and a half away from that even becoming a thing. I will say that the DK, from everything I've been told, the Steelers pissed TJ Watt off when they handed DK Metcalf a boatload of money, you know, and just said, here you go, here's a massive contract. But to be honest, I've heard they pissed everybody off. There was nobody that was happy about that. Like, they wanted DK, they were happy for DK, but they also looked at it and said, you're going to hand DK all this money, this historic amount of money, but you're going to try to lowball TJ. Like, that's pretty messed up. I think it's early, but I just think that's the difference right now, is that TJ is just looking at it going, you're not getting the leeway that you've got in years past. You're going to have to come up with a real number. The Steelers are gonna, you know, at the end of the day, it makes too much sense. It doesn't put them in a weird spot. So it's just a matter of time. That's where we're sitting here. He's got almost all stars, got another one for us. Do you know what is up with Amari Cooper? Isn't a Steelers receiver room with Amari a better room? Why did you and Jacob poo-poo the idea of signing him rather than giving up draft capital? Amari is an option for the Steelers. I don't think Amari is more than a Robert Woods right now, maybe a reliable set of hands, but I think he's a bigger risk than he is a guaranteed valuable asset to have on your football team. I mean, if it's the end of August and the Steelers need a wide receiver, all right, yeah, maybe you consider Amari Cooper. But in June, I just don't know if that would be the direction I'm going in. I think there are other options, and are going to be other options for the Steelers come end of July, early August, that I think could be better. And because of that, I just think patience is key in this situation.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I think I'm just harsh. And I recognize that I have been very harsh regarding the, you know, free agent class of wide receivers, but I just think there's not a lot of positivity to take from it. It's just a lot of guys who would be nice to have. I don't disagree with the fact that having Amari Cooper would be helpful. I just think it provides nothing really of substantial value to the Steelers offense in 2025. And you can operate from a position of strength, which I think is like really key for the Steelers, you know, and potentially use all of this draft capital that they have acquired and will probably acquire more of before the 2026 draft. So if you have to use a mid to late round pick to get a wide receiver that moves the needle, I'd much prefer that than bringing in, you know, a veteran wide receiver like Gabe Davis, Amari Cooper, etc.
I agree. Almost all stars. Got one more for us real quick. It's not a question. It's more of a comment. I think there is a poll feature that you can use during the lives. We should use it during the What's More Likely segment. We'll look into it for sure. We can't see it here on StreamYard, but we'll try to see if it's on the good old YouTube live. The good old YouTube live. Whataburger. Who's all going to Ireland? Man, it was a crazy day, or crazy all-day struggle, but they got them. You go and Noah. Shout out to Whataburger. I'm glad you got your tickets. I've heard it's been an absolute train wreck trying to get tickets to this Ireland game. The queue was at like 600,000 or something crazy like that at one point. Yeah, all sorts of issues. I'm super pumped that you got them. Like, it's messed up that like they had to have anticipated. Taylor Swift is the only thing I've ever seen in my lifetime take over a city. Taylor Swift-like situation in Ireland with the Steelers. I'm glad you got them. I will be there. I've already been messaged a couple of times about meeting up with some people. I think there's a possibility. It's early. I got to figure it out. I got to figure out what the Steelers are going to do that week. But it would be cool, I think, to set up some sort of like meet and greet type situation. Meet and greet's a weird word. Let's get a beer / a coffee type situation with everybody who's out there. So I will look into that a little bit more and try to situate it. Also, the wife's coming, so when you're traveling to Ireland for work, you're gonna try to use it as a vacation. The Steelers are also blessing us by not showing up till Friday, which is. I looked Art Rooney right in the eyes. I said, "Hey, pal, thank you for that one. I'm going out on Monday."
He's like, "It was for you. It was for you, Noah. It was for you."
He took his glasses off of he wears his glasses over his sunglasses, and he took his glasses over his sunglasses. He said, "You're welcome." I said, "All right, cool. Thanks, Mr. Rooney. Love you. Appreciate it." So shout out. But yeah, I will be there, and we'll figure something out for sure. I think there's enough people that are going that will do something cool. Marlon Lewis, is it safe to say that about Mike T, but not about TJ? At what point could he be looking at the messaging being the same and not being able to compete with the best teams? This is a good question. We were talking about Mike Tomlin kind of becoming a guy that needs to prove himself while still being a guy that the Steelers want around forever. TJ might be in that same boat, but the Lakers are selling a majority of their ownership. That's breaking news. Massive news, to be honest. Okay. Yeah, pretty big. When it comes to the messaging and the TJ having to play better in the playoffs, like yes and no. Like there are those times, I agree, where TJ needed to do a little bit more, but I also keep picturing, and maybe I'm just skewed here, but I keep picturing TJ sliding into the end zone in Kansas City to start the game with the football. And so he shows up sometimes. I think he needs more opportunities. I think the Steelers need to play better. I think you could say that about a bunch of people, but I look at it, I'm not getting rid of Mike Tomlin. I'm a guy who's not getting, like, middle of the season, I'll admit Mike Tomlin was bad coach, and deserved a lot of the blame. But I still think at the end of the day, Mike Tomlin, unless you are replacing him with somebody you know is going to be great, is a risk to replace him. TJ is the same way. TJ, in my eyes, is a game changer. He's taken over games in the past. I trust him more than anybody to figure this whole slump thing out. To me, it's, I got a lot of faith in TJ Watt.
I don't even think it's about like having the utmost faith in him either. Like he's proven that he's a elite. I just think the team as a whole has failed in the biggest moments more so than TJ Watt has failed as an impact player in those big moments as well. So, I'm not looking at just him as being the one who has to be better in order for the Steelers to have more postseason success. I think it really comes down to their offense being pretty pitiful in the playoffs, and their defense as a whole, not being consistent throughout an entire game. So lots to be critical of. I don't think it is solely on TJ, or it is enough of TJ's responsibility that it would negate him getting the massive contract that's coming.
Yeah, I agree. Egyptian Roughnecks got a big one for us. Start bench cut, ice cubes, iced tea, or vanilla ice. Ice, baby. Ice, baby.
I mean,
I'll say, can I give you a little story here?
please.
Growing up my entire life, I thought I was going to be Eminem. It was just a dream. That's
Can I tell you something?
Yeah,
I'm unsurprised to hear that.
Yeah, I figured. I figured that'd be the case. And I walked around full do-rag at all times, right, like ready to go. And I was about, I think, 6 years old when I knew every word to Ice Ice Baby without question and would burst out rapping it at all times. Like just randomly would just start busting a move. So I don't know it today. That's how long it's been since I've played it, but did come on at my wedding. And for a hot second, I was like, like, they don't even know what's happening. Yeah. So
collaborate and listen.
Ice is back. Brand new redemption. Ice cubes, iced tea, vanilla ice.
I am so sorry. I would cut vanilla ice so quickly. And I'm starting Ice Cube.
Oh,
without a doubt. There's not...
Oh, you took it. Okay.
Are we talking about rappers?
I think we are. Musicians? It took me a minute to think it was not an Ice Cube. Like until you said Ice Cube the way you said it, I thought we were talking about an Ice Cube, iced tea, and vanilla ice. I just thought he was randomly in there. If this is the case, go ahead, because you're spot on.
Yeah. If we are not talking about states of water, and we were talking about musicians, Ice Cube for sure. Today Was a Good Day comes on my Spotify.
Yeah.
Several times a week.
Yes.
Ice-T, just because I love watching him on whatchamacallit, SVU or whatever, or Law and Order, whatever it is. And Vanilla Ice, he's just got to go just because I can still listen to everything Vanilla Ice did because I can listen to Queen's and David Bowie's Under Pressure. So
it's true. It's true.
I can get that. You have a different take on that?
No, it's pretty spot on. That was pretty good. And my only surprise immediately was like, oh man, dude, iced tea is delicious. And Ice Cube's like, I can live without ice cubes. But if we're going, Ice Cube for sure, zero questions asked. Iced tea for the exact same reason, to be honest with you. Plus his did you ever see his Raising Cane's t-shirt that's just randomly there? Big Raising Cane's guy, I guess. I don't know. And then Vanilla Ice. Shout out to Egyptian Roughneck. What an unbelievable one. Enigma After Dark has another one for us. Start, bench, cut, Three Rivers, Hines, or Acrisure. This one to me is maybe it's a little controversial, and maybe it's just because this is how I grew up. Hines Field that's starting. Three Rivers Stadium is getting benched. Historic, but I wasn't around for it. Acrisure could get out. This just go away. You know what I mean? Although I will be the first guy to remind everybody that Hines is now located in Cleveland. So it doesn't hold the same juice that it once did. I know.
Yeah, you're right. There's no other way to cut that. No one likes Acrisure as a stadium name, right?
No.
Like there's no one who's like, oh man, I love going to down Acre. Watching the Steelers play.
So bad.
It's awful.
So
There's nothing.
Yeah.
Saying I'm going down Heinz Field to watch the Steelers play, just like came out of a Yinzer's mouth like it was,
like fucking like butter on a toast.
Butter. Yeah.
Yes. Unbelievable. Yeah. Shout out. There is only one answer to good old that one. Rodgers Steeler here. A risk at coach is better than 9-8, 10-7 with Tomlin because you know what you're getting with him. Why not take a chance at better? Worst case scenario, you get a high draft pick. Tupac is the GOAT. Ooh, Tupac's up there for sure for me. Definitely for sure. Again, dude, I'm an Eminem guy, like so hard. Like he is, without surprise, the white guy's my GOAT. But Lil Wayne's a close second. But Tupac's in my top 5. For sure. And I appreciate the toss in 100%.
For sure. I got to shout out my college roommate, Cello, real quick, because his dad is from Brooklyn, I believe. So we had the Notorious B.I.G. on pretty much every day in our college years. So that's I got awesome. pretty into the East Side rappers.
The first time I ever met my my wife, we went out our first like technical date because we like, I don't know, we knew each other for a long time. I took her on a date that I thought was a date, wasn't a date. She had a boyfriend. Yeah. That was an embarrassing time. And I was, I was a little mad that I still paid for the coffee. Anyways, when we went on our actual first date, picked her up on the way back, she was definitely a couple of drinks in, and she rapped like 3 Biggie Smalls Tupac songs in a row, and I was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna marry this girl one day. That's probably what's gonna happen here. So shout out. When it comes to the coaching situation, we should answer that one as well. I think it depends, because you mess up at head coach, you find yourself in a situation where you are much deeper than you want to be. It's not just we messed up at quarterback, now we got to go somewhere else and find another quarterback, and we missed him in the NFL draft. If you're signing a head coach, you're paying millions of dollars. If that coach doesn't work out and you have to fire him, you're still paying that coach millions of dollars per year. You're just also paying a new coach millions of dollars a year. It typically works out, but you find yourself in a spot where at some point you got to just push through a crappy head coach, and nobody wants to do that. So for the right guy, if it was Ben Johnson, yeah, there's an argument to be made. That guy looks like the next prodigy, the next Kyle Shanahan, the next great offensive head coach. There's an argument to be made. But I just don't think you go out and you sign the most random of coaches and say, well, maybe he works out, maybe he doesn't. Because if he doesn't, you've just set your team back a long ways. And that high draft pick that you got is also going to suck because they don't have a head coach to develop them. So I think that is a very difficult place to be in, to say you have to replace your head coach. I think it needs to be a situation where it makes sense. And if it made sense, there's an argument for it, but it can't be anybody. It's got to be somebody that makes sense.
Yeah, you make the wrong move, you're done. Just look at, we haven't had a good starting quarterback in Pittsburgh for a few years now. Have still managed to not have losing seasons. You can point to lots of very good coaching jobs with not the best rosters throughout the NFL. Yes. In addition to the Steelers' history, it's really hard to point to teams, and I'm sure there are examples that I just can't think of right now. I would imagine, and I would gather that it's harder to point to teams that are successful with better players, but the coaching just goes to, down the toilet. Are there examples? I'm sure. But yeah, I take my chances with a good coach who can get the most out of players than sort of the inverse of that.
I agree. I think it's the biggest risk you could take in the NFL. And if you have a good one, you stick to them. Cody Silva's got an important one here. Kobe or LeBron, Mamba all day. Rest in peace to Kobe, man. But I am a LeBron fan. Like, I will argue till I'm blue in the face that LeBron James is the GOAT, and people hate me for it. But that's just like, I grew up in a house where my dad was telling me LeBron was the GOAT 25 years ago, and I was like, I don't even know who that is, but sure, sounds good. And it's embedded in me. It's few things are embedded as hard as the LeBron religion that I grew up on. So shout out to LeBron. I'm going LeBron.
Yeah, I can't ever diss my boy Kobe.
No disrespect to Kobe.
Of course, yeah. But yeah, I frankly, I'm not very knowledgeable about the NBA, so my opinion on this has got to be taken very, very much with a grain of salt. But LeBron just has so many points, and he's won championships, and he's been doing it for 3 decades. So I don't know.
The 39 years old thing, it gets me every time. It gets me, and I just think he's old, man, and he's still kicking butt. So we'll see what happens. Andrew here, are we still thinking Cordero Patterson gets cut? That's my assumption. It's the most shocking decision that the Steelers made of him not being cut yet. So we'll see what happens, but I have a hard time believing he doesn't get cut. When? I don't know. I, again, am shocked it hasn't happened yet, but he's still here, and there's got to be a reason for it. We got 2 more here, or a couple more here. Any idea when the boys are flying to Malibu to get the work in? I have heard that they are setting some stuff up and that they are meeting, I would guess, the end of this month, early July, somewhere in that ballpark. They usually take a couple of weeks off. Everybody kind of goes and does their own thing. Then right at the beginning of July seems to be the let's meet up and do stuff. And then you go take that last vacation before you kind of meet up. But that's when I hear the boys are meeting up here. Tyler Dots, Noah, how fast is our wide receiver room? Top 3 guys all run 4.340s. Is this a first for the Steelers? Will they walk over DBs? I'll let you kind of dive into that one. Steelers wide receivers and the speed that they have. Is it an advantage that the Steelers can utilize this season?
Yeah, it does seem very tactical in the sense that the plan is for Aaron Rodgers to stay upright and get rid of the ball pretty quickly. And a good way to make that happen is to have wide receivers who are explosive off of the line of scrimmage and can create separation within that first 2.5 seconds. And you have Calvin Austin, who is a certified speedster. You like what you see from Roman Wilson so far in very limited capacity. DK Metcalf is obviously, explosive in other ways, not 4.3. Who's the other 4.3 guy I'm forgetting here?
In Pittsburgh, it's DK, it's Calvin Austin.
And then
that would be the only 2 I would know of. I don't think Roman's a 4.3 guy, but we could assume Roman's fast. So we can assume Roman's in the conversation for sure.
Yeah, I think it feels to the benefit of the Steelers. I'm not ready to say that they're going to walk all over the secondaries that they come across. And speed alone is not going to be what does it, but it's certainly going to help and could give, can give them an advantage in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. I think it depends on how the offense is utilized, but I also think that having options and creating space is more important sometimes than speed. Speed's great, but there's a reason Travis Kelce is as elite as he is, because he always knows where the gap is. And I think you could find that and hope the Steelers do find that this season. Shower Curtain's got one here. Noah, pizza casserole. Try it. I had to highlight this because I will be trying pizza casserole. That will be happening. And then we'll finish it off with this one. Dobby has a sock. Yo, Noah, the show is thriving. I had to give a shout out. Appreciate you. So my question is, and as we stand, who are your top 5 options at wide receiver that we have a legitimate shot of bringing in to pair with DK? Great question to finish with. Top 5 answers here. We'll kind of go back and forth. We'll go top 5 here. If you were to give them, we'll blind rank them here. Number 5, I'll let you start it off. Who's your number 5?
Number 5, I would have Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis as a number 5.
Maybe
number
that's
4,
too early on the list in your mind, but
no. I like it. I'm going to respect the list, however you make it. And I'll go number 4 here. I like the Gabe Davis. The number 4 to me, oh man, it's got to be a wide receiver, which is big for this one. Number 4 for me is probably Trey Palmer. That would be a name that right now I think is on the list. Might have put him number 5, but I think he's a good number 4. Gabe Davis, Trey Palmer, 5-4. Who's your 3?
I think I have to go with, the guy I've been kind of mentioning a good bit here and go Romeo Doubs from Green Bay.
I knew you were going to do that. And that puts me in who could possibly be number 2? Who could possibly make their way up to number 2 here? I'm going to put a shot in the dark here. It's got to be realistic. It's got to be a realistic name for the Pittsburgh Steelers, that is so tough right now where we stand. Romeo Doubs at number 3, man. That's a brutal one. That is a brutal one.
What does someone like Jalen McMillan from the Bucs do? I'm looking at my targets list over here to my left. That's why I keep peeking off here. What does Wan'Dale Robinson?
No.
No.
The answer is no.
The answer is no. Come on, Noah. Let's dream a bit.
If we're going realistic,
it can't be him.
I don't think it Chris Olave was going to top the list, but I think he's got to go number 2 now. I think he's got to go number 2. I think he's got to, because who would be? I just don't have another number 2 to even toss into the mix here. I think it would be.
Who's number 1?
No, you got to come up with it on that one. You gave me 3, pal. You gave me 3. You went from Trey Palmer to Romeo Doubs with no hesitation. You got to give me a 1 here. You got to give me a 1.
All right, I'll give you a 1 here. I don't know how realistic it is, but I want it to be Jawan Jennings from the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, I don't mind that one. I don't mind that one at all, to be honest. I think if we flip-flopped him, Chris Olave, Juan Jennings, that's a good 1, 2, 3. I do like that, to be honest with you. I do like that for sure. I like that. That's a good top 5 list that we just came up with for sure. All right. With that said, guys, we're heading out of here. Thank you so much. We should answer this one. Eddie, what would we need to give up for Romeo Doubs? He was your number 3. What do you give Romeo Doubs?
Roll of 3s. I'd give up a 3rd round pick, I guess, but that would be like I think probably a good bit.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's what would you give up more than a
3rd?
third?
I think a 4th. I think a 4th is where I'd start the conversation. 3rd if you need to, but I think you could go 4th and feel pretty okay about a deal being made with Green Bay. All right. With that said, guys, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Once again, shout out to all of our members and all of our super chatters and to everybody who called into the call-in show this morning. Make sure to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We're moving our way up. We're at 4.6, and we got a couple of new reviews in there, and to hit download all as always and find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. With that said, we'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg.